Live from the Counterpunch Media Studios in Davison, Michigan, it's time for real lives, real families, real fitness. It's time for Derek Noel Fitness.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Derek Noel Fitness Live. We have an awesome interview coming up in just a second. But first, I just wanted to say I had a really good amount of conversations with people over the past week over the program that I am doing, which is really cool. I do really appreciate getting that support. If you have any questions, please make sure you're reaching out. Or if you have any questions about anything I've ever talked about, or you think would be a good topic for a show or a question for a Q&A, please make sure you are actually sending them to me so that I can answer the questions, because I would really like to cater this show to you. And whatever you were looking to get out of this, I would like to be able to provide. So make sure that you're make sure that you're relaying that information to me. I had to think of that word for a second. This, I believe, is episode 47. I may be wrong on that. It might be 48. Starting to lose track a little bit. Not really a big issue, though. It's a good problem to have, I like to say. So today's interview, I am interviewing a man named Nick Krantz. You can find him on Instagram at Nick Krantz Fit, or here on Facebook. You can find him at Nick Krantz. I'm going to tag him, and you can also find him on Twitter at Nick Krantz as well. He is a nutrition coach, an online nutrition coach who focuses on getting people results, but also focuses on breaking the old school dieting habits that are really, really just not true anymore and not backed by any real science, or if they are, it's just ridiculous and it's not efficient. And we'll get into that too. He actually has a guide called the Diet Break Manual. I believe it is, so he has, the screen was just up, discovering the 3 secrets to make sure that you are dieting well and something sustainable. And we talk about all of these things in the show. We also talk about donuts, because how could we not talk about donuts? I think we were just coming off of a National Donut Day or something like that when we actually chatted with him. But it's going to be really good, and we do talk about when maybe you shouldn't be dieting, or how your body reacts to certain things or doesn't react to certain things. And it's just a really, really good chat on nutrition, and I'm going to stop rambling right now, and we'll get right to the interview. Here is Mr. Nick Krantz. I'm sitting here today with Sir Nick Krantz. You can find him at Nick Krantz Fit on Instagram. He is a man, a myth, a legend who loves eating donuts. And everybody, welcome Nick to the show. This is my the crowd's going wild.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
So I know I told you what the first question was going to be, but I feel like we need to get this one out of the way first. Favorite donut?
So here it is. I grew up on donuts. Not a Dunkin' Donuts, not a chain. It was a home donut shop in Eastlake, Ohio. Still there. And so my favorite is what they make, but I could do this anywhere. It's just a regular donut. I can't say regular. It's an exquisite donut with vanilla cream filling, but their vanilla cream, it's like a taco. So it's on the inside, but it also comes out like the top. So when we get our baker's dozen, we get 4 or 5 of those.
Just no problem. No problem smashing.
It's my go-to anytime.
Yeah, I'm a simple man myself. I used to like the really crazy things. I'm either a nutty donut person, which was insane, because one of the best nutty donuts I ever had was, of all places, from Meyer.
Interesting.
It was a nutty donut, and it was a chocolate donut.
Ooh, okay.
I've never found them ever again.
All right.
It was a one-time experience. But other than that,
I was going to say the one shop down in Cleveland, they have the ones we got for our wedding that we fell in love with. They had Cinnamon Toast Crunch and Fruity Pebbles. So the icing is made with the milk from a big bowl of cereal they put in. So then they use the milk and put it into the top of the donut. It is unreal.
That sounds too good. No wonder it was for your wedding.
Yeah. A little more expensive than the average donut.
Yeah. Anyways, we might get back into donut talk in a little bit, but Nick, for people who don't know you, who are watching this, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, stuff like that.
Yeah, so right now I'm currently an online nutrition coach, really helping those that have been damaged by these destructive diets, whether it's from, your fad diet, from a coach that's prescribed some type of diet, and really just trying to rebuild them, not just their body, but mentally. And so really my background is I didn't get into any type of fitness training, workout until ninth grade. I skateboarded for 10 years of my life, if you want to call that fitness. But I was never pushed to do anything like that. And that's coming from somebody that had a dad that was jacked and just was doing my thing. But as I got to ninth grade, our family dynamic started to kind of change. What appeared to be like a white picket fence family on the outside was really starting to have this spiral of addiction on the inside. And so there was the four of us, mom, sister, dad. And that really turned to be my outlet. And I didn't really know at the time, but I got talked into playing basketball with my long, shaggy hair, and realized that, okay, well, I'm starting to get this, internal aggression and anger and frustration out. I'm actually seeing results. I'm getting better at things. Like, it was almost like, wow, you tell me to run, bench and stuff and pull-ups and they're working, like, okay. So I started to see that trend. And then the following year, got talked into playing the sport called football. It really ended up changing my life, my body, my mind. And it was the same thing. I was surrounded by these mentors and coaches and these guys that were just really there for me during the time that I needed most. And so I went from 147.5 pounds my sophomore year to 205 my senior year, and really just, like I said, transformed who I was. And then senior year came knocking. I was in my bathroom, probably admiring myself in the mirror, being a turd. And I got a text from the stork saying, hey, you're going to be a dad in 9 months. So I'm like, oh, so I had some decisions to make. I had to make a quick pivot. And so I ended up decommitting from a Division I school, and I found a school that was only 10 minutes away, which was Lake Erie College. And I can get there in 8 minutes with my 95 red minivan, which is tattooed on my ankle, by the way.
Nice.
And so, all throughout that time, being a father, working, going to school, having football, it really it was a make or break time. And I had no choice but to go. Each and every day was go. And so, at the end, I ended up having all these injuries. Football career didn't pan out, and that's okay, because looking back, I wasn't meant to play football. I was meant to be a coach and a mentor, which I didn't have that growing up. And so when I look back, my senior year, tore my shoulder. Freshman year of college, I tore my groin. Sophomore year, my left shoulder, and then my concussion started the following year. But each time I was injured, I would always come back, to the field and coach. And, people thought I was always older. I guess I kind of grew up, even though I still thought I was immature. But I was trying to fill this void that I didn't have growing up, because all the lessons that I was taught was what not to do. And so you have that road when you're given that type of negative energy of, you can either follow the path or you can kind of create your own. So I learned from it and I went on my own way. And so I said I ended up having just too many concussions. My worst one and last one I had was up in Michigan Tech. I think that school. And that was the end of my career. But I ended up getting a job at a juvenile jail because I was just needed a job. I loved just working with the youth, helping guidance, and then really got into fitness after that. Got a part-time job at a local gym, which specialized in athletes. And then kind of realized when I made my switch to being online full-time, which was 2 years ago, was when my dad passed, succumbed to alcoholism. And it kind of realized that, like, life is short. And like, it almost realized that, like, this is your time, like, to go. Like, you think about it all the time, but life is too short, too precious to hold on to things. And when you put all your eggs in basket and just say, okay, I'm going to take each day at a time. And I said, that's why I just went. And so now here I am, just trying to change the world, one person, one day at a time, man.
Yeah, sounds good. And Michigan Tech, heck of a place to end the career, that's for sure. How many concussions did you have?
Right now I'm sitting at about 13-ish.
Oh, dang.
I finished concussion therapy in April. I was in a 5 or 6 month concussion rehab. Sucked, but it was definitely a grind. It was a grind, and it was just, all I did was a minor bump in December with a Christmas tree, getting in the car. Went to the back of the car because wife needed me, and then next thing you know, all I did was just walk into it, and that set me back 5 months. It was crazy. Never had anything like it. Michigan Tech's one was bad. We did have to drive home 14 hours after that night. I vaguely remember, but
Vaguely.
But yeah, I just got to wear a bubble, a helmet. I don't know. We're working on it.
Yeah. So one thing that I know comes up a lot with, especially athletes coming from injury, is mindset. And there are a lot of athletes that have really good mindsets when it comes to injuries, and there are other athletes that, like, they have their first injury and it's just absolutely heartbreaking. Which I feel like if you're playing a sport, especially if someone's trying to get to the pro level, every time you get injured, like, that might be the end of your career. So I could definitely imagine that. But I feel like there are a few more parallels with that in terms of the average person who maybe didn't play any sports or anything like that, or maybe they did and they have these setbacks. And we see it all the time of, oh, I hit the setback, so I'm just going to, like, eat away my feelings, or I'm just going to stop working out because what's the point? I'm just going to gain all this weight back anyways. And I see it a lot, for sure. And you do. And I mean, you've probably lived it, having those injuries before and being like, oh God, again, or just those things. What are some tips that you have for people who might hit those points of just not wanting to go on because they have that what's the point moment, or they just have that basically that downfall mentally, that after they just do something that they regret.
Right. In college, it was different because I know that there was always a reason to come back because I was trying to get back to play. And so, and at that point, it still wasn't about me. I wanted to do it, for my son. And that was like my main thing that moved the needle for me. But if you don't know how to get back, it's almost like you feel lost. And so being an athlete, like, okay, I need to do this for rehab. If I have my shoulder, I got my band, I got to do my stretches. And I want to get back because I want to get back to being a full human that's functional. And so now it's like, if you're in that position of you have, like, you tweak your hammy, or you're feeling off, you're like, oh, my back. And sometimes people get lost because there's no guidance or nobody to turn to of what's going on. They log in the internet and they try and search it up themselves. They're like, oh, this is too hard. I'm just going to kind of, like you said, eat your feelings away and take it from there. But thing is, like, this comes back to the point of looking at just the short term versus playing the long game. There's always going to be minor speed bumps, major speed bumps. And ultimately, it's up to you of what you're going to do when you're confronted with this barrier of, okay, well, if I have to rehab for, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, I can't go to the gym for a month, 2 months, like we just kind of were, like, what are you ultimately going to do? You have the choice, and you have the power of choice to say, okay, I'm going to just slowly kind of incorporate some things, or I'm just going to fold. Like, you have the option. I think people, we talk about it a lot, is people think they don't have control. And so it's easier to just say, okay, well, I'm not going to be accountable for it, but they can't call themselves out. And so what you do, you really have to just play the long game. The short game is only going to kill you in the long run, is what we preach time and time again. And so you can't look at it as the end of the day type thing, but you need to play the long game, do what you need to do to get back to healthy, not just for the gym aspect, just for whatever your role is. If you're a wife, husband, father, teacher, coach, whatever it is, it's above you, and just, you need to make sure you are able to not pour from an empty cup and to kind of continue to refill that glass.
Yeah. That's exactly what I've been telling people. I like to say that there are times for survival and there's times to thrive. It's the survive and thrive kind of deal. And especially these past couple months, it's surviving, but still making choices to make sure that you're surviving and you're not actually negatively affecting yourself. Because for a lot of people, I mean, especially with diets being diets the way they are and people thinking that they need to do them forever, which we will talk about in a second. But because I know you have feelings.
I got
a few, just one or two feelings.
a
Making sure that you don't negatively affect that, and just instead of having the goal being like, all right, because the goal is always, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to lose 10 pounds. And turning that into, all right, well, I don't want to gain more than 5 pounds over this whole quarantine going on. So what can I do to make sure that that happens? And what can I do to make sure that I'm not, and I'm using this loosely because it relates, I'm not losing muscle mass during quarantine because I'm not working out. Which, even though there are tons of studies that say if you've hit a certain point of muscle once, it's a lot easier to get back. And that's what I tell people all the time. I can point them out. A guy named Dr. Andy Galpin literally studies that for a living.
Yeah.
I love that guy. And he just did a 55-minute physiology on why people fart. And then like 2 days later, he announced he's a full-time professor now. So
I saw that yesterday on Facebook. It's awesome.
Yeah. But dang, I lost my train of thought with that.
See, you talk about fart, look what happens.
Yep. Just lose it. We're dudes. It happens.
It happens, man.
But yeah, just making sure, setting those goals to go, all right, I'm not gonna gain weight. Cause I mean, I gained 7 pounds, and that's a real 7 pounds. That's not even a water weight 7 pounds. Cause that's really easy. I mean, you start eating clean and you're going to lose probably like 4 or 5 pounds in the first week as soon as you're not bloated and stuff like that. But, but let's talk about that with people always dieting. And they're always in the state of, I need to lose 10 pounds. I need to lose 10 pounds. I need to lose 10 pounds. Let's get some thoughts on that mentality and that course of action, I should say.
Yeah. And they're always so fixated on the end result that they continue to search for that quick, oh, there's a marketing tactic that we know of, oh, here, try this because in the next 21 days, you can do this. In the next 30 days, you can do this. And listen, I'm all about challenges. Challenges are great. But at the end of the day, what are you getting out of the challenge? Are you getting back to this point of, you're going to slash your calories down to 1,000. You're going to only eat 2 protein shakes and 3 berries a day. And then, at the start of July, you're right back to doing the habits that you already had instilled in your body. And so I think the reason why I switched my coaching model from helping guys build muscle to repair and rewiring this mental state and dieting state is because of all these, mainly women, but guys as well, that they were coming to me trying diet after diet after diet and still not understanding why they weren't losing weight. But at that point, like Chasen says, like you literally lost the right to diet. Like your metabolism is right now sitting at 1,200-ish calories. Like, what do you want to do with your metabolic rate? You want me to cut down to 800 and work out 7 times per week? Like, is that really something you could do for longevity? Like, it's about the long game. It's about overall health. Especially these women, like your hormones are starting to become disaster, but you're not done, but you need to have this process of repairing and rebuilding your body and your hormones. And so that comes with eating more. You're doing the diet that nobody wanted to tell you about. That I always talk about Tommy Toughnuts trying to get you this diet, takes you to the end of the world. Then all of a sudden he's leaving you there, kicking you over the edge because he didn't have a plan to get you back. And so there's always the diet after the diet. They're talking about, the reverse diet protocol. And so once you finish this cut or whatever it is, like you need to make sure there's a plan in place. You're not dieting forever. You're going to figure out how to better manage when you're maintaining, when you're cutting, when you're trying to repair and get back to where you want with your, like I said, your maintenance. But said at the end of the day, the quick fix is never going to work. The quick diet is not going to be sufficient enough for you. And so body is what it is, but you're talking about your mind now. You know, you start to lose relationship with food. You start to lose relationship with yourself. Your self-love just continues to plummet because you don't understand. You don't like how you look. You feel like crap. Like you don't know what's next. You just feel lost. And so that's the point where it's like, how can we help these individuals? And that's why, you know, you and I are trying to do this and change the mold of this whole follow this diet, cancel out this and that because there's good food and bad food. Like, no, like this is not something quick. This is a lifestyle you can learn, but you just have to be educated on it.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing, I think the biggest thing that I've actually found helps when it gets people to start repairing their relationship with food is basically allowing themselves permission to eat things that they label as good or bad. So basically just getting rid of the good or bad mentality on food. We started out the show by talking about donuts.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people who could probably give us a lot of crap about talking about donuts, but if we allow ourselves to have a donut or 2 or 4, then we're less likely to binge out on something because we feel like, oh, well, we already hit it, and so what's the point? So I make it a point to make sure that everyone that I work with understands, hey, if you want something, let's just make it work. Instead of saying, oh, this is terrible, don't eat that. All right, well, you ate it. Let's just make sure that it's not negatively affecting you. And if it's not negative, then cool. Or, hey, how about I show you that you can eat, you know, you can go out for a Taco Tuesday, which, by the way, I don't get why tacos have such a bad rap.
Seriously, like, come on now.
It's protein, carb, and fat in one meal.
And delicious.
And amazing. But people are scared to go out for a Taco Tuesday because they think all of a sudden they're going to wake up and they're going to be 5 pounds heavier. If there's a ton of salt in the food, you might be just because of the extra water that you retain, but that'll come off like in the next day or two. And then, oh, hey, you mean I can go out and I can have a couple tacos with my buddies? Yeah. And I can lose weight, and it's basically eye-opening for people, but being able to have that relationship with food, because I mean, I was the same way. I was like 240 something pounds. I was eating tater tot casserole and drinking 2 milkshakes a day, and that's also how I put on 70 pounds. But when I stopped doing those things, I never restricted myself. I'm doing 75 hard right now. This is the first time that I'm not allowing myself any cheat meals ever in my life. I've always been able to quote eat clean, but I've also been able to eat spaghetti and these things because I just plan for it, and planning goes a long, long way. And I know in terms that if you want to know more about diet breaks, I know that you also have a free not a supplement, but a free ebook that I noticed that's linked on your Instagram. I'll make sure that I post that too. So if people want that, they can get hooked up with that, because I feel like that's one of the biggest things is that repair of, and I have clients. I have a high school wrestler right now who, when I told him he was going to be gaining weight and be walking around at like 155, he was a little freaked out because he was wrestling at 135. And then mid-season, it took a couple weeks for me to get him to do this. He would just like not eat like the day before his meet. And I was like, no, dude, I want you to keep eating. We're going to manipulate your water so you hit your weight, but you're going to be eating this whole time. So and of course I'm refining that too. So I learned, that was the first time I've ever worked with an athlete, by the way, high school wrestler. I didn't even have
too.
I know. Yeah. It was jumping in head first for sure.
Yeah. For sure.
It took a little bit, but we figured out how to make it work. He didn't miss weight once. And awesome. just the way that we handled it, we were able to get him. And just because honestly, I think it's number one, he was already the most conditioned kid on the team, because I handled his nutrition and his strength and conditioning.
Nice.
He was already the most conditioned person on the team. So while everyone else was struggling with runs, he was just crushing them. And he won most improved wrestler over in this past year in his county, which is awesome.
That's awesome.
But he also got stronger because strength training is a good idea for fat loss. And now that we have everything broken down, number one, I'm super pumped because his coach isn't going to try. His coach he weighed, when he came to me last year, I got him halfway through off season and he was 100. He was walking around like 147 and he ended up wrestling. His first couple ones were 145, 140, usually 140, but then he wrestled 135 and then he started wrestling 135. And I mean, he was jacked and he was in good shape. He was, and this is not a slight against his coach at all. But he was like one of 7 kids who wasn't injured by the end of the year too. Out of the entire wrestling team, one of 7, which to me is just
very
nuts.
important.
And even then he had like some nagging things because he landed really wrong on his elbow and, but it was an injury from like, you know, wrecking himself in terms of nutrition and stuff like that. But,
Right.
Now his coach is telling him he gets to wrestle at like 145, 150. And I gave him his basically off-season macros and being like, I literally don't care what you eat. Just make sure you hit these. It's super important. And then of course quarantine happened, so I couldn't train him in person. But yeah, he is walking around at 157 now. And he's like, oh, I think I'm a little heavy. I was like, dude, that's going to be such an easy cut. You don't even know.
You'll be good. And wrestlers know how to cut, man. Like it's all the psychological part, but it's hard to tell them like, oh, there's no way I can cut that weight. There's no way. Like, you know how, like get bigger, get stronger, get faster. When it's time to cut and when it's game time, you'll be all right.
One thing I mentioned that I actually wanted to talk about too, and I made a mental note this time, was strength training. I saw, who was it? It might have been Jordan Syatt, because he posts a ton of hilarious material. But he's my dude too. He posted, I think it was him. He posted something about, it was just a meme being, oh, you don't strength train while you're cutting fat. It'd be a lot cooler if you did. How have you noticed that having someone even going from either minimal or no strength training at all to incorporating it in, how have you noticed like that different people's mindset shift and their results have changed?
It's the point of getting them to start. It's like, well, you know, especially when they come to me, okay, well, I'm doing, cardio. And then I like to do a little bit of strength training, but I really like cardio. Okay, well, we're totally going to reverse that now. And so you're going to start strength training, whatever you like, 3, 4, 5, whatever your split is. And we're just going to cut cardio out, maybe even one day, and that's it. And it's the craziest like flash of, are you serious? Like, yes, I am serious. Because once they start, okay, they're starting to get stronger, starting to realize that, okay, I'm feeling my body, I'm seeing a little different, muscle. And it's like, when you're doing cardio, you're only burning from the moment you start to the moment you end. Okay, sweet. But your body becomes so adaptable to that because of just, it's just so easy. And our bodies are just so efficient to do that. And so when you're going on a treadmill from at 1 speed or 2 speed, whatever it is, your body becomes efficient to that. Now, when we're talking about strength training and the stressor that you're putting on your body to break it down and only to grow back even stronger. And so now, your metabolism starting to raise because you have more muscle on your body. So that ultimately means that you are becoming a higher metabolic rate, which means you could eat more. And so now you're getting more calories and nutrients in your body. That's going to just help you with the overall physique look, but also performance as well. And so it takes time for them to kind of get in that routine, but then they realize that, okay, wow, like my core is starting to tight up, my butt's looking better, my shoulders, like, wow, maybe there's something right. And so now when it's time to incorporate this fat loss tool of cardio, and not just talking about steps, but we're talking about like, okay, let's do 1 to 2 times a week. Then all of a sudden it's like magic. But now they fall in love with this process of strength training because, one, it's not just you're trying to hurt yourself and punish yourself in the gym, but this is also talking about longevity with your body and health as well. And not just that, but just also, just you with your mind of being able to say, wow, I can lift this heavy weight. Wow, I'm getting stronger. I can be a strong woman or man, whatever it is. Like, yes, you are capable, but you just needed just a little guidance. And then you just needed to go. Like, you can't hold the hand forever, but once they put themselves into that position, then they realize that, okay, strength training is just a little bit more important than doing this cardio thing. And now when I pair that with nutrition is going to take over the steering wheel, strength training is going to be in the driver's seat, and then we're just going to go. And then now it starts to click. And so it's a process. It's definitely a mental process, breaking through that barrier, but the results will speak for themselves.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that too. I think my favorite moment as a coach ever was when I took someone who was doing boot camp like 2 to 3 times a day, which is just so much. She was doing boot camp 2 to 3 times a day, and she came to me for a little extra guidance, and I basically took over her planning. I was like, all right, you're doing 1 a day, period. And we're putting you on a powerlifting protocol, because she wanted to get stronger. So I was like, all right, well, we're gonna start powerlifting. You want to get stronger? Best way to do it. So we did that, and at first she was like, what do you mean I'm only doing boot camp once a day? I'm like, I did not stutter. You were doing it once a day. And within a few months, like I had her cutting body fat down while she was doing a powerlifting protocol, while she was doing way less cardio. And it was the biggest eye-opening moment. Now she's just like, yeah. And now she's just like, oh, I have to do cardio. Mm-hmm. And before, all she wanted to do was cardio. Yeah. So I think, honestly, out of all the moments I've had as a coach, I think that's probably one of my favorite moments, was when she had that realization, like, oh, hey, I could see these results. I could get super strong. So yeah, I can definitely agree to that.
And that becomes your testimony to the other naysayers, like, no, there's no way this is it. Like, look, she went from doing this much cardio, this much high intensity workouts, to all of a sudden doing powerlifting. And now she's doing minimal cardio, but still getting these amazing results because of the training protocol. And so it's like, you can continue to go down. If you don't believe me, like, go ahead. And then when you're ready, come back. And then like, okay, maybe you were right. Like, listen, I was just trying to help you out. Like, I'm not BSing you. I'm just here to help.
I'm not just saying it because I hate running, which I do, by the way. Yeah. But there are legitimate things to lifting versus cardio. And that's to say, I'm never going to say like straight up cut it out. If you enjoy running, by all means, go out for a run. But if you don't like running like me and would rather just lift weights faster like me, then do that. And that's another thing, is just when people are trying to find it, obviously if she didn't like powerlifting, I wouldn't have had her do powerlifting. I told her straight up, I wrote 4 weeks of programming for you. If you don't like this by week 2 or 3, if you're not into it, then I will change it up and we'll try a different training protocol. I'm totally cool with that. Let's find something that works for you, because really people do need to find things that work. The best diet is one that works for you. And I don't think a lot of people really realize that.
No, because they all work, but it's the only ones that work for the individual. And you know, what works for you might not work for me. What works for Becky over there is what might not work for me. But if they are happy with it, they enjoy it, they feel like it's sustainable, something they could do forever, then by all means, I'll support you. Like, and you do the same thing, you'll support them. But if they're trying to do this cut corner type stuff, like, oh, well, I saw this and I saw these results, you're missing the point. You have to enjoy the journey about why you're doing it. You have to understand why you're doing it. You have to enjoy the food you're doing, or your food you're eating, the training you're doing. And then it's going to make life just a little easier, rather than trying to do these restrictive diets that are only just going to get you back to not just square one, but a little behind that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially with I think I see that the worst in people who've done bodybuilding diets, where it's, oh, hey, you're eating chicken 3 times a day for 6 days a week. And you literally get sick of chicken. Like, you literally never want to touch it again, because number one, palate fatigue is a real thing. Number two, that is so boring. Like, you're telling me I can't even mix up the way I make chicken and make chicken tacos? Like, I have to have chicken and asparagus 3 times a day. So it needs to be enjoyable. Make sure you're enjoying the foods that you like. Make sure the diet itself is enjoyable and you can do it long term, and you give yourself a little bit of leeway. Was it this morning you made a, I'm pulling it up right now. I think it was this morning you made a post, which I feel like envelops this really well.
Was it probably Facebook then?
Uh,
Or I don't know if I posted on Instagram. No, not this morning on Instagram.
I'm pulling it up right now because I feel like it's very, let's see when it was. Oh, it was yesterday. You posted, and again, you can find all of this stuff and a lot more at Nick Krantz Fit. Is that on Twitter too?
Yeah, same thing on Twitter.
Cool. So at Nick Krantz Fit, I'll make sure that I put that in the show notes. Dieting does not have to be so complicated. Shocker, right? Stick to nutrient-dense foods 70 to 80% of the time. That's not 100% of the time. Exercise 3 to 5 times per week, whatever you enjoy. Get steps, drink water, and eat your damn donuts.
Wow. Does it need a name? No. Like it's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. Those are just small pillars, you know. It's just a rough thing, but it's like people want to overcomplicate this. They want to show me their rules that they used to follow or what they can and can't eat. It's like you don't have to make it that difficult. You're only stressing yourself out even more. And well, when you're dieting, you're putting your body in a stressor. So you really just want to add extra stress. Like, no, that's not worth it. And so, like I said, even if you don't want to do the cardio we were talking about before, but like just go for a walk. Your mind needs that. Get your steps in. You know, especially now with the whole quarantine, I think is still a thing. Whatever. But like you need to have that mind clarity of getting out, just getting some fresh air, getting your vitamin D. But then also, you know, strength training, and there's no restrictions on food. If your diet is telling you that you can't eat a certain food, then you're in the wrong thing and somebody lied to you. Or they just don't know what the hell they're talking about and they want your money. And that's that. Said, like, if you're contemplating having a donut at like on a Saturday morning at your grandma's house, but you're not going to because you brought your Tupperware, like, listen, the people that do that because they're doing bodybuilding shows or whatever, like that's their thing. And listen, I'll support you. You want to be the greatest, go ahead. But somebody actually commented on my post yesterday, or maybe a couple of days ago, said her friend is very disciplined because they have never ate cake in their life and they don't allow their kids to eat cake. And I said, please, I just said, okay, thank you for commenting, but elaborate on discipline, because I'm now concerned. I didn't say this, but like, I'm concerned what you mean by discipline. Like, is that discipline or is that like absolutely absurd? You don't allow your kids to have cake at other parties. That is going to damage relationship with food forever until they realize, like, oh, this stuff isn't going to cause weight gain or it's going to make me fat overnight. Like, no, like that right there, like, was like, oh my God, what? Yep. Like that's crazy. And it just comes back to just, you know, relationship with food, that it should never get to that point.
No, it should never get to that point. I had something along the same lines of, I've been talking to this person, working with her for years. And I'm not, like, I won't say her name because I don't want to put her on blast or anything like that. Not that it's even putting her on blast, but it took her a year and a half ish to tell me that her mom took her to her first Weight Watchers meeting when she was like 8 years old. And you just go like, that explains literally everything. I was like, so, but as soon as I found that out, I go, okay, well, here's the thing. We shouldn't be focusing on trying to find a diet that really like works right now. We should focus on repairing your relationship with food overall. And then from there, I could hook her up with resources, because we need to know the truth as coaches too, knowing what's going on. I could lie to whoever my coach is and tell them that I'm doing something, but that doesn't help me. That just makes me try and save face. And if I'm just trying to save face, I'm not going to be able to do what I need to be done to be successful. So that honesty. So, I mean, at least they're honest, but yeah, people like to use the term discipline when it's absurdity.
Dude, that's not discipline. That's ridiculous. Like, discipline is being like, all right, tomorrow I'm going to wake up 4:30 and I'm going to journal, get my water in, and then go for a walk. Okay, you got up, good, you did it. That's discipline. Not saying I will not eat cake for the rest of my life not because I have like I'm allergic to anything in it, just because I said, no, I'm not eating it because it's bad for you, and kids, it's bad for you, and their kids it's going to be bad for you too. Like, it's just a mental game that's going to, like I said, it's going to be damaging, not just now, but for some time, until that's you're aware of it, and then you have that like repair phase of like what can I do, and then relationship with food is going to be the ultimate driver of what is most important to your dietary protocol.
Yep, for sure. We're actually already going on almost 40 minutes. Holy crap. Time flies. I won't take up any more of your time. Where can people find you if they would like to find you? And I do recommend that everybody finds you and checks you out.
Appreciate that. Yeah. So I'm mainly on Instagram and Twitter with Nick Krantz Fit, like you were just talking about. And then you can find me at nickkrantzfitness.com. And then I'm also on Facebook with some Facebook groups, but mainly Instagram, Twitter. Always active, always available for questions, anything like that. I said, anytime anybody got a question, reach out to you or me. It doesn't matter. I said we're all here to help in some way we can to kind of filter out that BS that's sifting around very rapidly. But that's what we're here for.
Yeah, lots of BS out there. All right, Nick, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much.
Yep.
And there you have it. Another interview in the books. This was a longer one. This one was running closer to 40 minutes just because we were getting going and we were talking. In case you couldn't tell, we both enjoy being able to do that. So if you enjoyed this conversation with Nick Krantz, I highly recommend that you follow him. You can find him on Instagram at @NickKrantzFit. All one word. You can find him on Twitter at @NickKrantzFit. You can also find him on Facebook at just by searching his name, Nick Krantz. He should be one of the first to pop up. And if not, you can always shoot me a message to make sure that I get you the information. But you can also find his socials in the description of this video as soon as we get them uploaded shortly. I'm going to be, as soon as we're off here, I'm going to be going in and adding them into the description of this video so that you can go and find him if you so choose. He posts a lot of very, very insightful things when it comes to breaking diet culture and things like that. Plus, he's just an all-around good guy, fun guy to watch. We talked about donuts. We ended up talking for donuts more after the interview completed, by the way. So if you got some value out of this episode, I would really appreciate it if you could share this video with your friends on your wall. You can text it to them, whatever you want to do. Those shares and likes really help out. You can always go to our YouTube channel, which is now officially youtube.com/counterpunchmedia, all one word, in order to go there and have your friends subscribe or find any of the previous episodes that we've done, any of the previous interviews, or the one-on-one shows that I've done as well. I'm not going to be rambling on too much more, though. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. I will be checking them all week long in order to answer anything that might come up. Have a great night, everybody.